Hey folks, my name is Hearsay, and this is sort of a test run of live streaming some programming sessions on the PunkScape project. You may be wondering, what is the PunkScape project? So I'm starting at the beginning here. PunkScape, which you can find at punkscape.xyz, is a banner NFT project. We can get into talking about what is an NFT, what is a banner NFT, all of that kind of stuff later. But the basic idea is if you go to OpenSea, which is the largest of the trading platforms for non-fungible tokens, NFTs, and you look for PunkScape, and the one you want, these are knockoffs, the period and the one with the extra E. This one with 10,000 items here is the actual PunkScapes collection. If I go there, you'll see that there's a collection of 10,000, exactly 10,000 PunkScapes, and each one is a small pixel landscape orientation piece of artwork. You can just look at any of these. This is going from cheapest to they're all varied, though, you can see. Lots of different little details. We call them traits, the different things that are unique about each one. These are static. They're built as 24 pixels tall at 72 pixels wide images, although there's larger size formats for them. And you see it has properties. This one has the old house, a prism sun, daytime skyscrapers. Anyway, this is a collection of NFTs called PunkScape, which is a project that was created by a gentleman named Jaleel, and of which I am currently a co-lead on the project. We've got a team of people that work on this kind of stuff. Anyway, what we're working on, what I'm working on today, these are already released. What you're looking at is already released, of course. And you can, if you're interested, buy these off of OpenSea or some third-party marketplace. But what this stream is about, and future streams is about, is programming stuff on top of that, stuff on top of these features. And so we have been working on, among other things, animated versions of these and interactive versions of these that are built in JavaScript. That's what I'm going to be working on today. I'll show you on my local host. Let's go to PunkScape number 1. Okay, so this is what you're now looking at is not live to the world yet, but replace animated versions of the basic PunkScape. So this is PunkScape number 1. I can go all the way through to number 10,000 here, and you're going to see animations for each one. Now they need work, there's things to do, and they're more than just animations, they're going to be interactive, and so this is channel and is going to be about, among other things, doing that work to make these interactive. This is sort of what I have already. But you'll note, by the way, I can tell you a little bit about how each of these is constructed. All the layers are constructed, and I throw configurations into here. So for example, these buildings are panning left. I can make them pan right. I can make them stop panning. We can have them pan really fast. And it's only showing the layers that are relevant at the moment, but this background layer, for example, is this atmosphere layer is just this shades of blue. I can turn that to hue cycle. Let's make it fast so we can see it. Cycling through colors. I can have it add curves to it. Nobody in the community really loves the curves feature, but I'm a fan of it anyways. It's going to be buried somewhere. Why does this have these options? These options are not what the end owner of the animated scape is going to directly have access to. What they will do is these different options will interact with the PunkScape in various ways. And we could, we'll get into talking about all the different ways and why. Let me clear that and reload the basic one here. The top one's just loading a static image off the web, so it's kind of funny the animated is loading faster than the static image. That's just a JPEG. Got to work on the speed of that API. Some are, further along than others. Some, This fluid is using, so this is like a golden sea or lava, if you want to imagine it that way. And the animated version here is using a Perla noise field to kind of give it some movement. Anyway, that's what PunkScape is. Let's get into programming on it. And specifically, I want to finish up or continue working on volcanoes. Let me show you what the volcanoes are. What I'm doing here is I'm going to OpenSea just so I can find some example IDs of volcanoes. So here's a basic one. Number 820 is a volcano. Let me stop it from... Okay, well, actually, this highlights one of the things I still need to do. The smoke is not coming out of the volcano because the volcano is panning. That's a problem. I can stop the pan so you can see where these are at right now. So that's one of the things I'd like to do. Maybe we could start with that. But the more tricky and interesting thing I want to do with these is if you watch this effect, it's kind of jittery. What you're actually witnessing is the way this works, there's a particle emitter that kind of makes different shapes. Actually, let's just show you the code. Random shapes are coming out of the volcano, and they drift up. They have a little bit of acceleration to the left. That's what you're seeing for the white shapes, kind of trying to get something resembling the feel of the original here. And then behind them, that haze is by calculating what's the leftmost within a certain area and what's the rightmost within a certain area and creating rectangles based on that. That's of course jittery as it falls out of one row and into another. So what we want to change that to is something that has a little bit more memory, and memory in the sense that it, instead of looking at it frame by frame, it's a little bit persistent, and if it suddenly is asked to be very narrow, instead it just shrinks some instead of collapsing to nothing. So those are the two tasks. I don't know if I articulated the second one very well. First one is I want the panning to work so that when this is panning, it's not as though the smoke is coming out of the same point in space. That smoke should pan with it. Second one is I want to smooth out that background haze. And by the way, there's another effect. So these are the volcanoes again. If I look at one of the buildings, the let's see here. Old House is the one. It has a very similar looking smokestack on the building. And I'm going to use the same particle emitter for that house. So we'll get some recycling. You can see that where I'm located right now, there's some rain off and on. Clue to my identity. Someplace with rain off and on. All right. So let's dig into the code. If I go to the topology, this is the stuff we did on our Discord the other day. And again, by the way, if you want to check out PunkScape, you can do so by going to punkscape.xyz. The real thing to check out is the art, the PunkScapes themselves, or the community by going to Discord. And you know, if you get into the NFT space, if you're familiar with NFTs, then you know Discord is kind of where NFT communities live. That and Twitter maybe, but ours is a lot of fun. I know I'm not the only Discord community that has that view, but I do have that view, so I'll pass it along. Anyway, I hope you can see the font size. Should I go bigger? I'll go slightly bigger, if that helps. That's kind of too big for me to deal with. Okay, how about here? So here's the volcano. I don't necessarily need smoke particles anymore. Though I don't know what I want to say about volcanoes other than volcanoes are cool. There you go. That's a very helpful annotation of the code, right? I'll just get rid of the comment because it's not helping me. So the volcano has some static images, and then it creates this smoke object. And the smoke object, it's actually creating two of them because, let's go back to our sample, because there's two. And they each have an XY coordinate where the mouth of the volcano comes out from. Hang on just a moment here. I'm realizing it might be helpful for me to
Heather, you know, him and my other brother Camise was more athletic.
Ignore that sound for a moment. I just wanted to have the stream manager open while I do that. Oh, good. I do appear to be streaming, which is great. Hi there. Okay. So back to the code here. This creates a smoke left and a smoke right. And each of these, this show method is called every frame. If you're familiar with game programming, this is going to look a little antiquated because these days people are generally working in something like Unity. I actually really like working in Unity. It was a funny shift to try to build this thing in just from scratch in JavaScript, because you do feel like you're writing your own, you're writing all this stuff that the real engines have to such an amazing degree. But there's big advantages to having it be JavaScript from scratch, meaning it can be a fully Web3 friendly product. We wanted this to be entirely in JavaScript so that it can run on anything, so that it can be a web app effectively. And that really limits you. If you look at Unity, if you start looking into trying to do Web3 stuff using Unity or using a tool like that, it's very restrictive. It's really just not there yet. Maybe others will disagree with me or prove me wrong, but I find it extremely constraining in a certain sense. Obviously from a functional standpoint, as far as the actual, you've got pathfinding and you've got amazing lighting effects and you've got all kinds of stuff you can do on that side. But you can't just run the thing in a browser with ease. And I have not seen, I don't know, again, prove me wrong. Anyway, here is the smoke. The smoke is an object that holds the smoke particles. The smoke also holds, if we look at it, well, we're starting these smoke rows, right? So the rows are what we're calling this background haze thing. I don't think I want to fix that at the moment. I think what I want to do is add the support for panning by adding an offset. So the trick is, let's see. Actually, if I look at my cities, I have this method showPan, which kind of sounds like a pun on the musician Chopin, but what does the showPan do here? A little bit convoluted. What this is trying to do is draw the pixel, but it is adding this, what's called a drift loop X offset based on the speed that we're panning. And this speed, again, a little convoluted. It's getting the speed, but passing in this all speed. So where is showPan called? All right, so this is what, tell me what I need to see. Basically, to do this showPan thing, I need two pieces of information. I need whether or not we're panning at all, which is what this option is storing, and the speed. So let's start by that. And we can actually kind of borrow this code. I know, it's not. It doesn't actually have to go here. I am passing the options into there. Okay, so let's go down to the actual particles. I have a P and an options. Okay, that's really what I needed to know. So what I want to do is down here, if it's paused, I don't have to do anything. Let's think about this for a moment. Do I have the options here? I do. Options and so every frame, I'm finding out, are we panning? And if so, what's my, well, and what is my pan speed? Let's just copy my own code here as I look at it. If it's static, we're just going to draw the thing where as normal. Otherwise, we're going to go into this other approach. So let's include this logic. Copying and pasting in programming is never a good sign. It's a sign you're doing something wrong and need to refactor. But that's okay. I kind of think do it wrong, get it to work, and then clean it up and refactor, right? So if well, you know what? I don't think I need a separate method. I think I just need to send my offset over to the actual drawing. Oh, by the way, you may be wondering about this. See this goofy code right here? Again, in need of refactoring, but what's going on here? Let's see if I can find the constants. These random shapes, star, hollow, pixel, all this stuff, that's just because these little white cubes coming out of the volcano are different random shapes. And just to be silly, I threw in, you see, in the original Tetris, these pieces had goofy names. Is this page gonna load? Did you know that Tetris pieces had such strange names? Orange Ricky, Blue Ricky, Cleveland Z. Smash Boy has got to be the best of these, though. It would have been so tempting to call it a block or something, but Smash Boy, right? Even though there's no smashing in Tetris. Okay, anyway. These volcanoes also have a Smash Boy, is the point I'm making. All right, I'm going real slow here. I'm in dire need of coffee and whatnot, so I appreciate your patience. Just trying to think through this. This pixel with outline function, which is what is actually drawing the squares, needs an X offset. And it does not have access to, well, it's just basically just drawing it, isn't it? All right, so let's do it this way. This is going to be our X, we'll call it an X offset, X off equals 0. If the all pan is not equal to static. Then we need to get the amount of the offset. And let's see how the cities does that for a moment. So the cities sends all this data over to Chopin, and how does Chopin know how much to offset it? Very concerned with if we're going left or right, but I'm not sure I care for this purpose. We'll see in a moment if I actually care about that. I don't think I do. Okay, this is really the critical thing. It calls get speed on the pan speed, and it multiplies that by the image width. This makes sense to me. So the fact that it would have to, it needs to know, and in the case of this thing, it's a fixed width. My image here, I believe, of the volcanoes is 74 pixels wide, even though the PunkScapes are 72 pixels wide. It has a couple extra pixels to make it loop nicely because the basic image didn't have tiling nice. So let's look at the get speed function. Oh, where is it getting it from? It's importing it from somewhere. From the helper class. All right, let's go look at the helper class. This is the function I've been looking for. All right, so I'm going to pass it a speed, and it's going to return one of these numbers. That makes sense. And then I'm going to multiply that number by the width of the thing that I'm panning. I could probably explain that a little better for people here, what the heck I'm talking about, but let's try to do it first, and maybe in the process we'll explain it. This is the function I definitely need, though. I want this function, and what I need to pass to it is my speed, which is this. And you know what, just to see that what would help understand it is if I just log this thing now, so we can look at it and see if it's actually changing when I change the settings here too. Let's pull. Okay. Hang on. I'm only launching it if it's not static. Well, that's okay. Actually, I kind of want to see it always so I can see a big bunch of zeros when it's supposed to be 0. Hey, lots and lots of zeros. It can't even make up its mind about how many in a row it's getting. Okay, so the point is now, if I change the panning to, let's say, pan left, aha. So we're seeing numbers fly by, and these numbers are on a scale of 0 to 1. And I can change the speed it does that using this. This is one, I forgot what I mean by the C, but 1 loop per minute, basically, right? In other words, it goes from 0 to 1 in a minute. Or this is going from 0 to 1 20 times a minute. So if you can see here, if I switch to that, yeah, see it counting up very quickly. That's probably too small to see, but now it's counting up to 1 much more rapidly. All right, anyway, we have our number between 0 and 1, and we want it to pan across the screen. Now remember about this screen that although the volcanoes here are, in a certain sense, 74 pixels wide, in another sense, they are many more pixels than that, because this actual thing is drawing its pixels. It's only sort of pretend that many pixels wide. The way these are able to move sort of sub-pixel motions is because we are taking each pixel and growing them large so that this can be displayed at various sizes. Did that make sense? Probably did not make sense, but that's fine. Hang on just a moment. Okay, so anyways, what we're going to do, now we have a number, x off, but we need to multiply it by 2 things. We need to multiply it by the width of the image. That's really what it needs to be multiplied by, right? What's tricky about this is I don't always know. I mean, I know the width. I can calculate the width of the image, obviously, of the volcanoes, but I want to use this effect later on the house. The house actually pans along a much wider space than this one does. But let's just brute force it for the moment and then find the more logical way later. Again, you're going to see this as a theme with me. First, just do it. Later, figure out how to do it right. If I look at the size at the volcanoes, for example, it's a topology. This is the file. Show me it. I use Ace Sprite quite a bit for pixel editing. I just like it. Here are our volcanoes, and this file is .79 wide. I was wrong. Did I have that right? You can see it at the bottom left of the screen, if you're wondering. Yeah, 79 wide. Okay. I guessed wrong when I said before it was 74. It's actually 79. So let's go back here, and let's say that we're going to take our x value, which is our number between 0 and 1, and multiply it by 79. So I don't have the actual within the smoke particle space, I don't have the volcano. What I probably should do is have the smoke know the panning width when it's constructed, and have the smoke particle and have it pass it to the smoke particle. Let's do that. Well, first let's get it to work and then let's move it. Okay. So now I have this thing. And the question is, do I need to also multiply? Yes, I need to also multiply this by something called unit. Probably wondering what unit is. Unit is, as I was saying before, it's not actually 79 pixels wide. It's 79 pixels stretched out to the size of the canvas. So unit is my adjustment to the size of the canvas. Now I should have a proper x offset. And the question is, if I pass this to each of these, will I be peachy? So let's go to pixel with outline for a second. Where's my pixel with outline? Let's have this take an x offset. It's a little weird to pass x, y, and then x offset, isn't it? But I'm really not doing a y offset. Do I mind? I'm going to say I don't care. You know this trick? I'm not actually even sure if it's faster to do this to make a billion cursors. Because I find that when I click in just the wrong spot once, it's hard to regain control. I'll just do that many of them. I'm going to pass these all x off. Let's give over to here as well. You're looking at some terrible code. I'm really sorry. Sometimes these things do get cleaner when I've worked with it, but this is just these volcanoes we just kind of created the other day. So they're still very much a work in progress. I like to kind of make almost all the shapes have it now. Even the Smash Boy gets an X off. All right. So now I have the X off in the method that is actually drawing the little thing, which is this. And all I think I got to do is, this is the X value, add X off. That's actually not all I have to do, but I think that will start to get the effect I want. Let's go have a look. Now I know, by the way, what I just did will have no effect on the background haze. We're gonna have to do that separately. Weird. Not what I wanted, but it's also very weird. It's almost like it's going the wrong way. Let's speed it up and see if it makes more sense to us. It's definitely doing something with panning. Whoa, why is it? Okay, so what's happening, I think, is somehow interesting. And then the spawn point is off screen. Okay, and then it's back at the starting point. It's definitely, do you know what I mean? I'm watching like an invisible point in space that's emitting the smoke at somewhere like there. And then when it comes back around to 0, it'll appear again like here. Obviously not the behavior we're looking for. You know what? It looks like it's moving right the exact amount that those guys are moving left. I think we see why the left and right matters. Yeah, and of course left and right matters. Of course it does, because otherwise I should be subtracting instead of adding this number, right? So let's just subtract for a moment and see if that's... Ah, look at that. They're coming out of the volcano. Of course, that doesn't actually solve our problem for a couple of reasons. First, we're not going to have one here until this guy gets to this spot. I'll explain why. Second problem is I need to be able to pan the volcanoes both directions. Let's see, once it gets there, it starts to puff again. Okay, so we need to handle left and right. And we need to handle... Now, so let's think about why it is that this volcano arrives and it's off. Imagine, if you will, once we get to the reset, put the beginning position, which is about to hit. We have these two particle emitters that are both offsetting, moving to the left, moving to the left, moving to the left, moving to the left. And although the mountains are coming here, these are just moving to the left until I tell them to go back to their starting position, which is here and here. So that's not good enough. What we need to do also, actually, if I look at the cities, you'll see how we solve that on the cities. Well, wait, before we solve that, let's first just solve the left and right, because that's kind of fundamental. So our first question is, where the heck is left and right stored? All pan. Oh yeah, so all pan is either a pan left or a pan right. Okay, so I wonder, can we cheat? Can we just say, instead of this, instead of if it's not static, can we say if it is pan left? And I think I capitalized that right. I need to get rid of some of these tabs, right? If it is pan left, then get the speed. And if it's pan right, we're going to get the negative speed. Minus get speed. Will that work? Almost, right? I might have those backwards, by the way, because panning is confusing. Is the camera moving or are the mountains moving? So now it's going left correctly. And now it's going right mostly correctly. This one, of course, not puffing and won't puff until it gets back to its starting position due to the other issue. Now puff. No, yeah, there we go. Okay. So the left, that's the right idea. And I think that actually solves, that does actually work. Now, why are these, I think, well, okay, I already explained why, right? Do you guys get, do you conceptually get why it stops at the halfway? The way that I address this in the cities, well, let's go to that show pan. Don't I have this like Chopin method? Is it's actually drawing any pixel it's being asked to draw, it's drawing it twice, and it's drawing it offset by the total width of the image. That actually makes sense. It makes sense to me why. In other words, it's drawing it twice, because if you're sliding the thing off screen to the right and it's coming from the left, then you need to see a second one for the arrival before you reset the whole thing. And you need to do the same operation if you're panning the other way from the other direction. That's why this is a negative or a positive of the image width. So let's go back to our topology, and now let's first say hard-coded 79 here is no bueno. Instead, this should have a pan width. When you create the smoke, you need to know how wide the space is of the thing you're going to pan. And again, sloppy, but I'm going to also pass that on down to the smoke particle. My capitalization here is wrong. So let's pass the smoke particle the pan width. And now my smoke particle can have a pan width. And we will just store that. And each particle gets to know. That may sound sort of wasteful of space, but I think it actually is logical. Each particle of smoke does sort of need to know the width of the space that it's looping across, so I think that's reasonable. And instead of 79 here, when we're showing it, we're using it. Only it has a capital W. And then the only remaining thing is, it was 79. Now, the volcanoes, when they're making them, need to tell it that this is 79. It's going to be a little confusing looking at this. Isn't that friendly looking at the code. You know, I can help here. Let's do this. Let's make this constructor a little friendlier. The width of the space in which the smoke will be panned. Not the most descriptive, but at least to kind of give some idea what the hell we're talking. I guess pan width already kind of, I'm kind of just restating the obvious, huh? Okay, so now we should still have the same thing, even though I just abstracted that out. Let's just make sure. If I pan the other way. I'm puffing on a vape as the mountains are puffing on Tetris shapes. Okay. So next, what I want to do is in my smoke particle. Oh, the smoke particle does have options. It does know the options. So really what has to happen here, let's get rid of all this junk code. What has to happen here is I need to look at those options. I need to look at specifically if I'm going left or right. Where did I just have that code on? Oh, here. You know, I didn't have to pass the x offset. I didn't have to calculate the x offset and then pass it, although I guess it saves something. Okay, but what I really need is to do this check here. If I'm panning left, and all pan I don't have here, but what I can do is just that. In other words, if I'm panning left, I'm going to do this. I don't need to provide a default. Nor do I have to need parentheses around that. If I'm panning right, I'm going to have basically 3 different behaviors here. For the moment, I'm just going to copy this one. Ooh, you know what is weird though? This is backwards. How funny. This should be plus, logically, and these should be flipped. I'll let you ponder the why. This really shouldn't be subtracting the offset unless I had these calculated wrong, which way's left and right. Else, if, well, if it's static or something else I've never heard of, then you can just draw it and not bother me with this x off, I guess. Or you could use the x off because it doesn't matter. First of all, did I just break things? Let's see. We're going right and we're puffing right. We go left and we're puffing left. And if we're static, everybody's happy. Okay. So then now let's set it back to left again. And now what we want to do is if we are going left, we want another one of these to be drawn in the same spot plus this dot pan width times unit, because remember we're in a different reference frame. By the way, this might be if we're going right, not left. I'm having a seriously A ton of left-right confusion here. What all this confusion stems from is, okay, this is panning left. Would you consider this panning left, or would you consider this panning right? In other words, like, we are moving to the right, so the view is panning left. I think this would actually be called a pan right, not a pan left. I think these names are backwards, and I think that is causing my endless confusion. I mean, what I really mean is like hillside slide left. Okay, but it looks like the puffing, I was doing the left one, right? Let me do minus this dot pan width as the second one and see if that solves it. Okay, they're both spouting out. They're spouting out. Are you going to spout out? No. And now he will when he gets here. And they both do. Okay, so that doesn't seem right. Should be the other way then. We're going left and everybody's happy. Oh, look, I saw some smoke coming from the new one. Okay, all right. All right, our particles are moving with the landscape. And what should work now, first, let's see what happens if we go the other way. Oh, we probably know this doesn't work because I didn't do it here. Only this time, I do want minus this number. And reload that. Okay, that looks good to me. That looks good. Oh, look, they're asking. Okay, I asked if somebody could check my feed. Let me see if I, if you will bear with me, folks, I'm going to hold on just a moment, if you will. I'm going to invite some people to the thread here.
All right, close try there.
Ah,
all right.
Ignore that.
Another chance. Let's go.
Ignore that madness. I'm not actually sure how to. If you guys will give me just a moment. Oh, this is so I'm sharing the link just with the community because I realized now I asked if somebody would come by to check if audio levels and whatnot are right. What is it actually showing? Oh, will it live feed it? Oh, no. I'm watching the live feed of the live feed on Discord. Uh-oh. This is going to cause terrible confusion. I better turn this off. Don't hit play on a small embed that is displaying the live stream as you show the live stream is the lesson of that. You can get lost in the abyss. All right, back to panning of volcanoes. Look, I got some viewers. Those must be PunkScape people arriving. Excellent. Somebody will tell me. Do you want to try? Is my audio loud? Too quiet? Am I good? Are these viewers real? I don't know. Okay. Well, all right. I'm not going to worry about it. But if somebody arrives and wants to say hi in the chat, that would be cool. So we've done panning in both directions. We feel good about that. What we have not done Am I ready to move on to the haze? Did I cover the panning all properly? And the speed should be fine too, right? If I go blazing, let's see. Yeah, look at those particles blaze by. Satisfyingly rapid. Let's go the other way. It makes sense. Okay, now let's get this haze thing. Well, the haze thing isn't done yet. So it's kind of funny to put the panning in before I clean up the jitteriness, but I still kind of want to, just so that this isn't as crazy. And let's go back to like a normal speed. So continuing with our logic, this was just the smoke particles. What about the rectangles? How are the rectangles even made? You gotta love that I made this like with the community like a day ago, but I've had so little sleep that I don't remember how it works. It's a really short time frame to forget how a thing works. This is just the particles. These are the smoke rows. The smoke rows, oh, you know what? I don't think the smoke rows are being used yet. That's a little bit confusing. Yeah, it's not actually calling the smoke rows to draw the rows. Instead, it's doing this. It's looking through, calculating this, and then it's getting the min x, the max x, and it is drawing, here's where it draws the rectangle. Starting at, look at this, starting x, okay, so the issue is the width will be fine. Everything will be fine. It's just the starting x that we need to apply our offset to for the looping. And we might need to draw the cloud twice. Yeah. Do I want this inside of my rows loop? No, I do not. This should be outside of it because I only have to calculate this once each time. And now we can borrow from, let's borrow from whatever the hell I just did. This thing. Started at 0. Yeah, let's take this whole thing from the smoke particle, and now we're just going to borrow it up here at the move it up to the smoke. But I don't have an all pan variable yet, so we need that too. This thing. I do have a pan width. This should give me, and it give me the negative. Okay, this is all peachy. Now I have an x offset, which does what I want it to do. And now I simply need to, I believe, add it to this. This whole calculation here, it's a little bizarre to look at. This is on purpose. I know it looks like we're saying unit, 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 and just multiplying and dividing randomly because we're crazy people, but there is a logic to it. But the entire thing should be either added to or subtracted, oh no, just added to the x offset. And that will get us halfway home. Then we have to do the game of, are we moving left or right again? But let's first see if this is sort of working. See, we're going left. And the clouds are going left. The problem is, when this volcano loops around again, it will not have a haze until it reaches the point of origin. See, no haze. Nor will the next one until right when this one gets to where about this one is in the original picture, and then suddenly pop. There's our haze again. Okay. Let me just tell them. Kind of a test run. I'm just watch me announce Twitch while I Twitch on Twitch. Kind of doing volcano panning, kind of a test run of streaming the programming sessions on Twitch and recording them, etc. All right. So we have to, in this draw, do it twice. And the second one is dependent on if we're moving left or right. So, in other words, you know, this is actually kind of silly because I need to draw it no matter what in the origin spot, and then the question is only, let's clean this a little bit. What I mean is that this has to happen no matter what and doesn't need to be part of the switch. And then if I'm switching, then I need to draw the second one with that pan width thing. And if I'm going this way, I have to draw it the other way. And I don't need to have this. A little bit more efficient. I think that did not break things, right? Mm-hmm. So just like that, same again, I need to check the settings here on the background haze. Here it is. And after I've drawn it once with that offset, draw it a second time if my options say pan left or pan right, only this time what's happening inside here needs to be, oops, this rectangle code. And we'll get to this one in a moment. Only now, under the X offset, I'm also going to add or subtract, depending left or right, this dot pan width times unit. And the second time I do this going the other way, it'll be minus this dot pan width times unit. And I 50-50 chance I got this backwards. All right, so far so good. We're going left, we're going left. The question is, will there be a haze on the third volcano? Ah, I see the haze. That means we got it in the correct direction. And if I switch the direction, it should still work just normally. The real test of adding panning support is finding a PunkScape, however, that has a vehicle in it, because I just think that's what really sells the panning. Let's look at the volcanoes for a moment. And you got a car? How about this one? Oh, look, it's for sale. Okay, 3873. It's got a nice black truck. Let's take a look. Kind of a slow drive. Has a prism sun doing this like kind of prism animation thing. The volcanoes are moving in the background, which is what we wanted. Little Tetris pieces are coming out. You know, on the Tetris pieces, by the way, and this is super sloppy, but I did want, it's not really supposed to feature Tetris so heavily. I do like the idea of it being sort of hidden in there, but what I could do is, I just want a couple more of these that just say pixel to make a single pixel kind of a more common occurrence when it's picking one of these out randomly. See, that one's just a pixel. I just want single pixels to be a little bit more common. Okay, so let's drive fast as a test here. Yeah. And when we did the live stream of making these volcanoes yesterday, Jalil had a funny idea of what if the wind direction of the volcano depends which way we're panning, kind of like a train blowing smoke out. And I kind of gave him grief about it at the time because that doesn't actually fit the logic of what's happening or supposed to be happening here at all. This is not a train. These are volcanoes in the background. They're not volcanoes driving by with a steam engine. But it is funny, and it maybe should be somehow supported, or at least the option to kind of set the wind direction somewhere. So maybe I should have options for the wind direction, but for now I'm kind of okay with that. Pan left. Of course, panning left when the truck points this way doesn't make a lot of sense, but all right, well, we accomplished the first of the two goals. One of the goals was that this work we did on clouds the other day should support panning. The other one I'm going to, oh look, Jaleel said hi. Neat. Neat. And Dusty Dust said hi. Excellent. So the creator of PunkScapes has arrived in the chat. I have a video, actually, a short clip that is just for this purpose. Hold on just a moment. Hold on. Let me grab it here. Where is it? Ah, there you go. Jaleel is typing. No problem, Dusty. Thanks for stopping by. Is the audio okay, Jaleel? The silky voice. He called my voice silky. Little shows what he knows. Foolish decisions. I am recording this. Oh, Jaleel says audio is perfect. All right. All right, should I tackle task number 2? Task number 2 is to make these things smoother, or should I leave this as a nice short video that just added panning support to the volcano effect that we did the other day? I think I can keep going. Here's the default direction. Obviously, default panning for a truck pointing left is left. Making that happen, by the way, turned out to be... Oh, he hears my PC fan. Okay, well. Making this, by default, go left when a truck points left and go right when a truck points right is a little bit more complicated a task than you might think, because if you look at the PunkScape collection, and you look at a trait like the... Let's look at those cars. Let's look at those trucks for a second. Just going to point this out about PunkScapes in general. So this is the pickup, and there are 91 PunkScapes that have a pickup truck like that in it. Normally with NFT collections, you know, if you have a trait like this, you're going to have that trait will be the same in all of them. But you'll notice, if you look carefully, these aren't exactly the same. And with certain traits, it's actually much more dramatically different. Some of these pickup trucks point to the left, some point to the right. You'll notice also the positioning is not exactly the same. So for example, this one is over here, whereas this one is over here. So that's not in the metadata, I guess is the point I'm making. This is not inherently in the metadata. We call these variations. There are variations of each PunkScape. You can see it much more starkly if I look at the police car, for example, because some cop cars point forward, some cop cars point sideways. If I look at, let's say that we look at 6492, so because this one is pointed to the right, the default settings for this animated scape have us driving by these mountains. These mountains do a much nicer job of the parallax than the crater moon does. I got to work on the crater moon parallax. But if we look by comparison at one of the ones pointed forward, let's look at 4695. Actually, it'll still pan, but instead of holding this place, sorry, what was the number? 4695. Ah, now it's a speed trap. It shouldn't be going that fast. Good grief. Why is this set so fast? I don't know. It should really be slow. But my point here is it's not held in that position. Instead, it's sliding by that way. Anyway, you get it. Let's go back to the volcanoes for a moment. What's a nice volcano for us to look at while we work? How about a nice sedan, 9856. All right. Panning is happening. This will be a nice one to try to sort out this jitter. Now, what the jitter is doing, or why it's jittery, is not actually a bug. It's sort of by design at the moment, but it's a design we want to change. Oh, Jaleel's taken off. See you later, man. So I guess one of the lessons here is I need to learn to watch the chat while I do this. It's grabbing within a certain height range all of the particles that are within that height range, and it's calculating the leftmost side and the rightmost side, and it's drawing a rectangle based on that. Now the thing is, because a particular particle may move out of that particular section, that can turn a wide section to a narrow section very quickly, or vice versa. What I think I want instead is that each of those rows is like a persistent object, and the data coming in, instead of saying now be this wide or now be this narrow, it doesn't immediately jump to being that narrow. Instead, it just moves a direction towards it. I actually think I'm going to leave that for off screen now. I want to go grab a bite to eat. So I think I'm going to stop there. I appreciate people checking it out. Wow, was that really a full hour? It's telling me that was a full hour. That's a good length of time for an opening video. I should mention, if you want to learn more about PunkScape, head over to punkscape.xyz. This is our page. There's a lot of great tools. We've been playing around with animated scapes, but there's a scape merge tool, there's a builder tool, there's all kinds of cool stuff for playing with this stuff and learning about it. And the main one I would urge you to consider is the Discord link. Come to the Discord and come say hi and make some friends. Anyway, I appreciate everybody stopping by, and I would probably be ending it now if I could find the window with the button to stop the stream. Secrets of streaming. You need to learn the off. There it is, OBS. All right, guys, take care. Thanks so much for watching.